But I'm super excited for our guest, Miranda Holder. I know like I'm supposed to be all chill and stuff and be like, oh, she's fabulous. I guess that's not really chill. That's my chill. That's my version of chill. But she's a Wellesley alum, and I always lead with that. It makes me excited. She's also a leadership career coach who works with individuals, teams, and organizations to help them take the next step in their leadership journey, whether it's transitioning to a new career, a new leadership role, or reimagining life altogether. One of her gifts is helping people discover the intersection of their passion, purpose, and skills so they can excel in the work they love. Welcome, Miranda.
Thank you, Lauren. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. All right, let's get started. Um, what is, I think I asked you this question, like, what is a leadership coach? How do you teach people to lead? What is this?
Yep, I got asked that question a lot, and I don't think it's a natural assumption to make at all. I look at leadership as something that starts in the inside first. So when
Mhm.
people hear leadership coach, they're like, so you help people become better leaders, right? And I'm like, yes, leadership coach, that's a natural assumption. And they often think that that means like how we show up on the outside, how we talk, what actions we take when we talk to people, how we move as a leader. And for many of us, it's more about understanding what internal things are going on that drive the external things in terms of how we show up as a leader. So I think of it as inside out leading, because you got to lead yourself first. If you can't lead yourself, you can't lead anyone else. So it's got to
I
start
love
there.
Inside, and that's perfect too, because the movie, I finally saw the movie. I'm so late on movies. And I cried. But Inside Out's all about like your feelings and dealing with your emotions. So it's not exactly what you're doing. But one of the things that I love is like you talk about listening to your body. And can you go a little bit more about that? And how does that feed into your coaching? Because I think most people, they don't think about listening to your body, when it comes to coaching, particularly career coaching.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I've had two major career shifts I'm 42, so I've had a lot for a relatively short amount of time. And especially the second time, I used my body as I went through that. And what I mean by that is I was leaving collegiate rowing coaching and I had no idea what I was going to do next. And I tried on a lot of different things in terms of I thought about HR, I thought about recruiting, I thought about sales, I thought about natural extensions of what I'd done before. And I would get partway through interviews, I talked to people about those rules or those roles, and everything in my body was like, no, like, do not do that. Like, all the sensations that came up were like dread, like it felt just didn't feel good. It didn't feel energizing. And when I learned about executive coaching, like my whole body lit up. And at the time, I didn't know what was going on biologically to be able to really understand that that was my nervous system talking to me about what I valued and recognizing in executive coaching that this was the next right thing for me. And so we have to fast forward some years where I had to learn some painful lessons to learn to trust my body. Um, that led me to begin to explore the science of when I'm feeling stuff, what's going on? When I'm feeling like this job is right for me, and that one's wrong, or I want to talk more to that person and not that person, or what was going on in my body, and I wanted to understand the biology of that so I could trust it more. Does that answer your question?
Yes. And I want to back up and let people know that today's topic is different kinds of coaching. Hey. And so you went through with three different kinds of coaching in like 15, 20 seconds. What's the difference between, and I have like two follow-up questions. First is what's the difference between executive coaching and leadership coaching?
Great answer. I don't know that I have a great answer to that, or great question. I don't have a great answer. Um, I think people typically understand that as coaching executives at a high level of business. And one of the beautiful things, as you are well aware about coaching, is it's becoming more democratized. And
Mhm.
so I think my personal approach is that it's a branding thing. Like, people say that because it sounds more important, or it sounds different,
Fancy.
fancier, more expensive maybe. But to me, like, it doesn't really matter. To me, the lead, like, I got certified as a leadership coach. So that's part of how and why I introduced myself that way. And
Mhm.
the leadership component of it has been really interesting for me. I don't care who I'm coaching. I want people that are interested in leading differently for themselves and having a different kind of experience in their life.
So, and my second follow-up question to what you were saying was, what's the difference, or is there a difference between what you were just talking about and intuition?
Yes. So intuition is one piece of embodiment.
Okay. What's embodiment?
The sense of you're like, define all these terms for me. Um, Intuition is one piece or one thing that can come up in your felt sense of yourself. So when if you close your eyes and you just start to notice your body, for example, you start to notice your heart
I'm
or
gonna
your
do it
breath,
now.
yeah, or the temperature of the air against your skin. You're having an embodied experience. You're becoming more embodied by being in your body in the present moment. And feeling your intuition is just one aspect of that. That's different from maybe feeling fear or feeling what it feels like to maybe have a really, as I'm sure you have felt, because we've all felt this, right? Like a heavy load of cognition, right? There's so many different bias can live in your body. We have these biobehavioral habits, these ways of being in the world that show up in our body. So there's all this, I think of it like almost like spaghetti, like this, all this stuff. And our job is to learn how to sense into that, feel it, and sort out, discern in and among, what's for me and what's not for me. What's going to help me decide what's the next step to take in my career versus like what's just my fearful reaction in a moment like this.
I don't know what kind of spaghetti you're eating that has all that stuff in it, but okay.
I just think of spaghetti being like it's all tangled up, right? You're
Oh,
felt all felt sensations in your body and
okay.
slowing down and pausing and learning to feel like, okay, what am I feeling? Okay, my intuition says to do this, but that's just one aspect. My heart says to do this, my brain says to do this, my fear says this. And those can feel all tangled up for people if they don't pause.
So things like, if I'm gonna take one of the examples that you said, like, if you're talking about your current position or what you're doing now and you're kind of tense, that's is it is it biofeedback? Let me learn it. Hey. So that's biofeedback letting you know that you need to explore this more.
Brilliant. Yes, exactly.
Brilliant, y'all. Because
You
I went
heard
to
it here
work.
first.
You heard it here first. You won't hear it here last because I'm probably gonna say it every week. Miranda Holder said I was brilliant. I have it on record. So I keep checking over here to make sure, see if I don't miss any questions. They have all these things, they're like, do a clipboard, but so what I'm hearing, I don't know how many of you, I'm gonna raise my hand, how many of y'all, and she was like, when you close your eyes. So there's at least two of us, because we both did it. We closed our eyes and like, what am I feeling? And then I started thinking it's like meditation, but I haven't meditated in a minute. But what I'm hearing is that with biofeedback, that's the start. That's not the end of the exploration.
Correct.
Tell me more.
So the start, if I had to give you a 4-word formula, the first one is pause. You first have to stop because it's like imagine if you're trying to feel something while you're running on a treadmill, which is how most of us move through our days, right? So you got
Mhm.
to stop, even if it's just for a couple of breaths. And then you have to sense, right? So that's connecting to your sensory awareness, your nervous
Yeah.
system. And then you notice, meaning you start to name it, okay, I'm stopping, I'm feeling my body. I feel kind of, you know, yucky in my stomach. That's me pausing, sensing, and then noticing that sense of yuckiness. And then discerning, okay, what is that yuckiness having to tell me? It's a
Mhm.
message. Like I think about it like our emotions, our sensations, they have messages for us. It's like the alarm system in your house, right? If the alarm system goes off, you don't just immediately pick up 911, right? You go and look, like, is the window open? It's, like, is there a fire? Like, what's going on? And then you choose the action. So
Mhm.
you gotta be with what you feel to understand it better, to then take action from it.
I run. I'm a runner. When they're like, was it flight or fight? I'm like, I flight, and then I have to fight if I have to. That's not about life. That's just like in general. Well, I guess that's the same thing. Like you're like, if you hear your alarm go off, see what it is. I hear the alarm go off. I'm like, gather the kids, run. We'll figure it out later. That probably said something about me.
Yeah, well, and it's, it takes some work to be able to not, like, panic in those moments. If there's trauma, you don't have that luxury. You just do
Mhm.
run. And so
Yeah.
that will come up in this work. Like, if you've had some stuff happen to you in your life and in your body, this work can be actually really challenging because you're facing what is. And so if something's going on that you have been ignoring, it'll come up, and that can be challenging. And it's going to come up one way or the other, and it's going to be getting in the way one way or the other. So, in my opinion, it's better to face the stuff that's there so you can clear it out, or you can heal it, or you can treat it, or you can deal with it in a different way. So it's not kind of behind the scenes pulling the strings.
One of the things that, and this is actually a good segue, our next Pikey Talk guest is going to be about self-care. So one of the things I'm big into is, okay, I love self-care. No one loves a spa day more than me. Is expanding the definition of what self-care is. And this sounds a lot like a form of self-care, like listening to yourself, listening to what is it that I need right now.
Yes, to me, it's the best self care. And it's also the reason why I will never write an article that says the 10 best self care tips for you, because I bet that if we sit down together and run you through an exercise and ask, what do you need right now? It's going to be different in an hour, in a day, in a week, or in a year. And so it's a moment by moment attentiveness to you and your body and what you need. Sometimes it might be water. Sometimes it might be a spa day. Sometimes it might be a big old nap. Sometimes it might be a night out with friends.
I
But
like all those.
yeah, you tapping into your own holistic embodied intelligence means that you're going to get what you need if you're listening to the system that's designed to give you what you need, to tell you what you need.
So after you listen, because one of the things I find with a lot of people, they identify the problem and they'll identify the solution and it's this part. So once you listen to your body, you figured out, let's just continue with the scenario. Like, I tense up when I talk about my job and you're like, well, what does that mean? And you say, maybe, I need to look at different things about my job that are what's causing me to tense up about my job. Um, how do you get from recognizing and you probably talked about, you doing through the steps, like just using that scenario, like a real life scenario. How do you get from continuing to use your body to get from I'm recognizing there's a problem and I'm like trying to do the whys to get to the bottom of what the problem is to actually doing it, like push. Because a lot of times we recognize a problem, but then we're just kind of like, I don't have time. I'm too busy. I any
Great
number of
question.
things.
Yeah. So, your values live in your body. And so,
Mhm,
let's say, for me, I used to work when I was a college rowing coach, I used to work 80, 90 hours a week. I was out of alignment with my values in terms of how hard I was working. The kind of
mhm,
life that I wanted to live and the kind of person that I wanted to be had a lot more space to it and a lot more time with the people that I loved and cared about. So
mhm.
part of the reason I felt bad and I got burned out is because I was out of alignment for myself and what mattered to me. And so you can recognize through your body what's up, and then you can also get connected to where, like, what's the next step. And that I feel like conviction is so heavily lives in your body around, okay, if it really matters to me to have a life with space in it versus this, then I've got some hard choices to make. But to me, the closer you get to that felt sense of conviction, the easier it is to be motivated to change. If you keep yourself busy and disconnected from that feeling, you'll stay put for a long time.
Mhm. But say that again. Your body, your values are in your body.
Your
It's hard.
values live in your body. It's
I
why
love that.
if someone cuts you off in traffic, you're like, oh, or like you have that visceral response when someone
Hmm.
transgresses a boundary. It's because who you are as a whole person and what matters to you lives everywhere in your body.
That makes sense. You should trademark that because Oprah's going to come for it.
I'll add that
Or,
to my list.
we'll see it next on like the fall quarterly. Oh, quarterly. They're like, your values live in your body. I'm like, just a second.
All right, that
Having
down. Check, check, check.
So we're gonna close up here. So what is a show? I always like to end with something that's totally unrealistic. Potentially. What's a show or movie or series that inspires you?
Oh, lots, but the first thing that comes up is actually there's a romantic comedy called About Time. Have you seen it?
It sounds familiar. What is it about? Time?
It's about it starts out as like what you think totally like typical lame rom-com, and then it
Uh-huh.
turns into it's a guy who finds out that he can travel back in time and he can
Okay.
relive moments of his life. And I'll spoiler alert, here comes the end. At the end, he realizes that the best way to live his life, like he would live every day, and then he'd go back at night, he'd go back and relive it again, like kind of relax because he knew it was going to happen and he knew everything was going to be okay and he'd be more present. And he realized, like, wow, when I'm present, my life is a lot better. And I can just
Uh,
appreciate all the beauty and all the joy and all the wonderfulness that's here. And so to me, it's like the best, most beautiful, makes me cry every time expression of why it matters to be present and how much richness and beauty and joy there is around us if we are here now in the body that's here now, living the life that we actually have instead of somewhere in the future.
my pick would be for a movie is Sliding Doors with Gwyneth Paltrow.
I love that one.
Yeah, I love that movie because it's all about the smallest things can make the biggest difference. If you haven't seen it, audience, go check it out. I don't know if it's streaming on anything, but it's really good. Um, yeah, and I love her short haircut, and I thought I could pull it off. I cannot. I, my sister can pull off your hair, but I can't. And so, tell people where they can find you.
You can find me on the internet at holderleadership.com, on Instagram at holderleadership, LinkedIn, Miranda Holder. But I think that's pretty much everywhere.
Yes, yay! Holderleadership.com. Miranda Holder, which is her name. You see it right there. And remember, values live in your body. Don't let Oprah take that from you. From you, the audience, or you, Miranda. Thank you so much for joining us today and just because it's really something I hadn't really thought about. I'm like, it's so true. And it was nice to hear you describe like how it's different from intuition and how you can use that to your advantage. So thank you so much, Miranda. It's always amazing to talk to you.
Same, Lauren. Thanks so much for having me.